Welcome back to Golden Rule Radio. Today is Wednesday, June 6, 2018, and we have a very special show for you today. Before we jump to the special part of the show, we're going to cover the markets really quickly. If you were to look at the price of gold oscillating between a very stagnant number and another very stagnant number, I think you'd think that nothing was going on in the world. Gold's been just right around 1,300. Silver, however, has shown a little bit more strength, especially today. It's up 1% while gold's flat. But there are so many things going on in the world today that are going to be driving the markets here in the next few months. June's a seasonally weak month for gold, so it's not surprising to see it stagnant. But let's jump right in here. We have gold right around 1,300. Miles, you want to run with gold?
Sure. I mean, gold coming into that 1285 support a couple weeks ago. Obviously, I've been hoping to see gold come back up into the 1320s. I think we're still going to stair-step up that direction here over the next few weeks. Then, of course, what happens from there? Do we turn back down or keep going up? And I think, again, that relies on where the dollar's going. You know, it looks like the dollar did bounce off that 95 and is turning down slightly. And as you mentioned, silver was sort of hitting the top of its trading range this week. So I think over the next week or two, we're going to see some interesting movements in the precious metals markets, especially depending on which direction the dollar goes.
I want to say with gold, I think you do have some room with gold for it to be weak in the next few weeks. I don't know that it's going to do that, but from a longer term chart, if you look at the trend line that was created between December 2015 and then the next bottom, that long-term trend line could put us into the mid-1200s and still be very bullish with the constructive behavior we've seen in the last few years.
And that all goes to value. Each week we can focus as much as we want technically, but focusing as well on fundamentals. We're looking at the ratios. Nothing has changed in the gold-silver ratio, platinum-palladium, platinum-gold. Those are all things that we're following too. And a good transition point here, premiums. You know, there is a ton of value in the precious metals markets right now, and we welcome this seasonal weakness.
Yeah, it's not just betting on the price of gold or silver, platinum, or palladium to go up. There are things that we've done over the last 46 years as a company that have grown portfolios, and you wouldn't know about these if you didn't participate in the markets with us. So we encourage you to contact us and engage with us about what we can do for you.
So speaking of value, we have two invaluable resources actually here at ICA, and they're sitting with us today. Drew is our numismatist and is honestly recognized nationally and internationally as a really discerning and incredibly knowledgeable expert in his field. George is a senior advisor here. Between the two of you guys, probably 80 plus years of experience. So Drew, first of all, I've got to ask the question, what in the world is a numismatist?
A numismatist is someone who has an ego problem and needs a fancy name for his profession. No. Simply put, a numismatist is somebody who studies and transacts trades in coins.
All right, and you've been with ICA for 36 plus years, but how long have you been in the profession?
Well, I don't know that you can call a 14-year-old a professional, but I was working in a coin shop when I was 14 years old. So it spans a few years now.
And I'm going to just tell the listeners the reason these two guys are here today, and it all stimulates from a staff meeting that you held this morning. And I can tell you, Drew, the only time I've seen you that animated in all my time here was about a decade ago when you called me fired up after having just toured the Smithsonian Institution and seen some of the rarest coins that America's ever produced. So I'm just going to ask you, please share what you're so excited about.
Well, Tori, there's only been 4 things really professionally that have been really out of the norm for me. The things that stand out, we participated in a really interesting $20 gold piece deal back in 1996. Then at the turn of the century, the Bank of England was selling off a lot of fractional European coins from various and sundry European countries, just bags of uncirculated coins that have been buried in bank vaults for 70 years plus. 2014, we had another situation where a Czech bank was going out of the gold leasing business, and once again bags of uncirculated sovereigns, 10 guilders, things like that were just put away for years and years, some 70 years. And once again, it is just something that I just don't get to see. I mean, it was something that we were able to offer our investors, and just almost a unique situation. So what you're asking me about now is what we have just stumbled into, and we have in the world of U.S. $20 gold pieces something that just simply hasn't happened We had a limited view of it, as I said, back in 1996, where a singular date came out, and we were pleased to be involved in it. This time, the scope of it is larger, more interesting, perhaps less numerous per date, but boy, is it fascinating from a professional standpoint.
So we've been the industry leader for decades in U.S. $20 gold pieces, otherwise known as double eagles, but we tend to deal primarily in common dates. Now this is a little bit different. What's the focus? Why the change?
Typically, what we're trying to do is offer our investors a bullion alternative, something that has what we call a double play to it, where it certainly can appreciate with the price of gold, but also has a collector value and an interest historically, and the demand coming from those who want perhaps a more discrete, non-reportable item. The dates that we're actually talking about here are 1895 Philadelphia and 1898 San Francisco. I've seen individual copies of these over time. I might even have been able to buy 4 or 5 or 6 of them, but I have never seen a quantity that would have come out of an original mint bag. I mean, we're talking, the whole universe of these coins was about 1,500 coins between the 95s and the 98s. That compares to a graded universe of only about, I'm going to say close to about 7,000 or 8,000 for each of the dates. Another thing to keep in mind, Tori, is the fact that when we're talking about $20 gold pieces, very few of them survived in mint state, high quality condition. And so when we talk about the mintage of a 1895 $20 gold piece, less than 1%, in fact 0.7% of the 1895s have been graded MS63 or higher. That's an infinitesimal number of coins as a ratio. And for the 1898Ss, 0.44% have been graded MS63 or higher. Unbelievably small numbers have survived in that condition.
So Drew, you started that by saying 1,500 coins. I thought there were only 400 coins.
Well, that's a great question, Tori. As you know, we are very particular in our grading. So the universe was 1,500, so we're disclosing everything here, right? Man, we are so narrow in our grading that there was only 400 that passed the grading standards of ICA. Regardless of who's grading them out there, PCGS, NGC, we still grade them more strictly than they do. So,
and I'm going to jump in here just as somebody that's come to ICA from outside, from in the industry, but outside of ICA. And I will tell you that Drew has a reputation within in the industry of being very picky. He was just being nice when he said that. But I will say his standards are way different than the rest of the industry. And that's from someone that's worked outside of this company.
All right, so George, you've got a ton of history here. What's the market telling you these are actually worth?
Well, it's really kind of tough because we haven't had the chance to ever buy these before in any kind of quantity, so it's really hard to put that in perspective. But what I do know is where they are now is at a premium that I've never been able to buy common dates at before, ever. I'm thinking, wow, this is an opportunity for value that I haven't seen. In 42 years, I have not been able to buy these coins at these premiums ever, let alone common date, not even to consider the fact that here's a 95p that's 21 times rarer by occurrence and grading than a common 04. Just from a ratio premium standpoint, very interested in this.
George, what's the 30-year average price or average value of a common date?
30-year average of a common date MS63 lived is going to be at 100 to 105%. Very evenly traded over that time. We have a high water mark of about 175 that it maintained for probably a little more than months, but probably more like a couple years.
Certainly enough time for us to get clients to make the transition out of them.
Absolutely. But we've never had the opportunity to purchase at these numbers, unprecedented. And, a coin 21 times rare, 17 times rare by occurrence of grading. It's never been on the radar because you won't see them.
I want to circle back to that because what you just mentioned is incredibly important. The 1895 is in fact 21 times rarer than an 04, right? I mean, you've sold many 04s, you've seen many 04s, but for a 95 to be 21 times rarer and to be selling it just very marginally more is almost like a joke. And then the 98s, as you were saying just a second ago, they're 17 times more rare.
And we're not rare coin salesmen. We're not selling the super tough date, CC gold coin, for hundreds of thousands. This coin hasn't been on the radar because
and been available.
It couldn't be.
Hadn't been there to sell.
But at these numbers, definitely on the radar.
And we're looking at an exit strategy down the road where we advise our clients
Absolutely.
when those premiums come high, you'll hear from us. The intention there is to accumulate and compound your ounces by taking advantage of the premium gains, right?
Yeah, and in it, the gold market has done what it's done. As we listen to Miles and Robert, you think, wow, there's nothing really going on. But in fact, the flip side is there's tons of stuff going on that we can take advantage of today and set ourselves up in tomorrow. And that's what the metals market's all about. That's what the coin market's all about is, we're seeking that value and it's there today and it's standing there. All I have to do is pick it up.
So Drew, before we leave this, any other intriguing stories that might accompany these coins? Anything else you want to mention?
Well, I can tell you that the coin's genesis is this particular deal is coming out of Europe. It's something that was transported over to Europe during the 1960s. When there was a great deal of eurodollars being traded in for gold, and in the wisdom of those that were making these decisions at the time, they thought, it would be so much better to send over $20 gold pieces that only have 0.9675 ounces per coin and use that rather than the new bright shiny bars that they had just created. They thought they were saving 3% in that transaction. What they were really doing was giving away our most precious asset, gold, in its most precious form, U.S. $20 gold pieces in uncirculated condition. It was just a ridiculous decision. And now, Tori, we have this opportunity to actually be purchasing these back. And as George keeps saying, I don't know if everybody's listening to what he's saying here. We have not seen these premiums on $20 gold pieces in MS63 condition, which is really a nice, very pleasant, high-grade $20 gold piece. We haven't seen them at these levels, not recently. We haven't seen them ever. I mean, he and I, between us, we've got about 85 years in this business. They've never been this low. So it's our strongest recommendation to take, as he said, look, there's a value sitting there on the table. Just please pick it up and give us an opportunity several years from now to allow you to trade that value, which has become far more valuable, to the value that we see 3 or 4 or 5 years hence.
Well, thank you, George and Drew. It's been an honor, and I'm going to hand this back over. Anything to add here, Miles and Robert?
Well, I'm of the younger generation, so the term FOMO kind of speaks out to me here because I have fear of missing out. With this opportunity, it's probably going to be over before it even begins. So if you're listening to this as soon as this show is produced and you have any interest whatsoever, you need to call us now.
He said 400, not 4,000 coins,
right.
Unfortunately.
And we've sold that many in a matter of a few minutes.
That's right.
So call in 800-525-9556 if you have any interest. Talk to one of the advisors and we can fill you in on more details than we can share here.
Well, guys, for the last year and a half, we've been talking a lot about gold versus silver, gold versus platinum, platinum palladium, gold versus Dow, Dow versus dollar. And from time to time, we'll say premium. And we've never really taken the time to discuss what that actually means. So for me, this was great to have some guys in here that have 40, 50 years of experience watching these premiums move back and forth. And for the average listener out there, hey, we can show you how to pull up a chart and figure stuff out on your own, but you have to be in this industry to really see where the real opportunities lie in some of these older coins, in some of these products, and in some of these swap ratios that take place outside of just what the market charts are telling you.
Well, I'll add one more thing. Dave McAlvany was speaking in Milwaukee this last weekend at a breakfast and then a college commencement. And I had one of the guys that I met at the breakfast ask me why somebody should do business with us versus our competitors. And my answer was about junk bags of silver at certain times trading at a premium so that we could arbitrage, we could sell out of people's positions that had junk bags at a premium, at a high premium, and buy something that is at a low premium. Well, this is the same type of concept that we're talking about with gold. We're talking about gold coins that if you're looking at adding to positions in gold, which you should be, especially with the seasonally weak part of the year right here in June, if you're adding, you would never want to buy bullion right now. You would want to buy something like this. You would want to have this premium gain. It doesn't even have to go back toward the all-time high watermark. It just needs to go back toward the average, not even to the average, toward the average, and you're able to trade out of that and come back into something that's more bullion oriented. That's the value add that we have on the table presenting to you as an offer today.
I'm so glad you said that, Robert, because before we started even recording, George said, why would anybody be buying gold bullion right now? You don't buy gold bullion in these opportunities, period. We'll get you in gold bullion later when these coins perform the way that we fully expect them to.
This is a prime opportunity. We'd love to have a conversation with you.
So that's going to about do it for Golden Rule Radio this week. We thank you for stopping by. If you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell to get notifications. Swing by our website, McAlvanyICA.com. You can follow us at Twitter at ICA Gold, or call any one of us anytime at 1-800-525-9556.
Thanks for listening. Have a great week.